Pokemon is one of those franchises you just can't help but enjoy. Video games, card games, plushies, toys, exercise, sleep for some reason. There's something for everyone, and there has been for nearly 3 decades now. I'm Kane, and on occasion I play games, and today, assuming I timed this right, it's Pokemon Day. And what better way to celebrate than to go back to where it all began? Today we're ranking the entire Kanto Pokedex, and we're not just stopping with the classic 151, oh no. We have over 25 years of glazing for these pixelated weapons of mass destruction to cover as well, so every form of these pocket men is getting the business. So if you like this video, subscribe to see when I eventually get around to the other 1000 menaces that Game Freak have pumped out over the years. With that out of the way though, let's do this. Bulbasaur is a cute little guy, and while he's the least popular of the original trio, he's objectively the best one to pick in a Kanto run. A tier. Ivysaur is maybe the single greatest middle evolution any starter's ever had. It's cute but tougher looking than Bulbasaur, and is a great transition between the first form and last. S tier. Venusaur is a little boring to me. I've always found it looks a little flat and loses the charm of the prior Evos that the other Kanto starters just don't. C tier. Mega Venusaur doesn't improve upon Venusaur much for me, but it's a little better. Still a C tier though. Gigantamax Venusaur looks like it has that Justin Bieber haircut every boy had at one point when I was in high school, including myself. D tier. Charmander is just an orange lizard that someone set on fire, but man, it just works. A tier. Charmeleon was the early warning sign that Ivysaur was a fluke when it came to starter middle evolutions. It's a decent middle point, but there's no seasoning. C tier. Charizard is objectively an absolute banger of a Pokemon. Yes, it gets too much attention. Yes, Game Freak glazes it like its name is Krispy Kreme. But it gets that for good reason. S tier. Mega Charizard X is so edgy, but damn it, it's just cool. It's peak design, you try and tell me otherwise. S tier. Mega Charizard Y is also very good, but boy, you've been overshadowed by Shadow the Hedgehog here. A tier. Gigantamax Charizard is maybe the point people turned on this constant praise of the Fire Lizard, and I can see why. This is maybe the ugliest thing I've ever seen. Get in the bin. Squirtle is the perfect first form starter, the slappable Joe Rogan head, oozing personality, and I can see why people choose him so often. S tier. Wartortle is... well, it's just not that good, is it? Game Freak thought they could pull a fast one and just copy Mario's homework, giving me the blue version of Ludwig von Cooper and thinking I wouldn't notice. D tier. Blastoise is sick. There is a reason people argue about Charizard and Blastoise and which is cooler. While I'm on Team Big Lizard, only a fool wouldn't respect the water cannon. S tier. Mega Blastoise is what if Blastoise was an American citizen. More guns, still a banger. S tier. Gigantamax Blastoise is what if Blastoise had the American military budget. It's a mobile fortress, perfect for all those Wartortles to hang on, waiting for an Italian plumber to dive kick them into oblivion. S tier. Caterpie is just a caterpillar. B tier? Metapod? Well, I mean, it's a cocoon, isn't it? It's a good evolution tutorial, but also it's just a green rock for all intents and purposes. D tier. Butterfree is an underrated Pokemon. I like it. It's cute, memorable, and probably responsible for a lot of trauma to people around my age. A tier. Gigantamax Butterfree could have been a lot better, though I don't really know what else they could have done. It just seems a bit lazy. C tier. Weedle has always looked dumb to me. I've never liked it. D tier. Kakuna is the cooler Daniel to Metapod's regular Daniel, but it's still just a yellow rock. C tier. Beedrill is awesome, and I wish it didn't suck. A tier. Mega Beedrill is arguably the best Mega, and what it should have always been about, elevating other Pokemon that were otherwise lacking in power. S tier. Pidgey, whilst nostalgic, is just a bird. C tier. Pidgeotto is a bigger bird. I like its hair though. B tier. Pidgeot is just an even bigger bird who can pull off the blonde highlights. A tier. Mega Pidgeot adds some blue to the mix and it just adds so much to the overall design. S tier. Rattata is weirdly iconic to me. I just like the little guy. B tier. Alolan Rattata has the mustache ready-made to stomp on those war turtles. B tier. Raticate might be the worst evolution we'll see today. All the personality, gone. Get in the bin. Alolan Raticate isn't much better. It lost the facial hair, let itself go, and I guess it at least keeps the colour scheme? D tier. Spearow is just a bird. C tier. Fearow's neck is so long that I feel like it belongs in a Final Fantasy game as a sword. C tier. Ekans is snake backwards. C tier. Arbok is cobra backwards if you can't spell the word cobra. C tier. Pikachu, undisputed banger. If you outmouse Disney, you get nothing but well-earned respect from me. S tier. Gigantamax Pikachu is a heckin' chonker. Peak design. The best TCG card too. S tier. Raichu is a great evolution, and while I know we all rag on Ash for not evolving his Pikachu, I mean, my boy has to rep the brand, you know, he has to sell those cards in those video games, you know. He's still an A tier, but you know, I understand. Alolan Raichu is honestly living the dream. Bro lives in Hawaii, surfs, and gains psychic powers from consuming pancakes. If that isn't peak existence, I don't know what is. S tier. Sandshrew is a little guy, and I love him. A tier. Alolan Sandshrew is an even cuter little guy, and I love him more. S tier. Sandslash is probably one of the better Kanto evolutions in my opinion, but it is on par with Sandshrew. A tier. Alolan Sandslash tried too hard to be cool. C tier. Nidoran female is just kind of a creature. I'm not exactly sure what it's meant to be. Some kind of rabbit, or like a jackrabbit maybe? It's fine. B tier. Nidorina is a cooler looking female Nidoran, but not way better, so it's still a B tier for me. Nidoqueen is fine, but it isn't that memorable to me, and the shiny is frankly horrendous, so it gets a C tier. Nidoran male is basically the same as the female counterpart, but I like purple more, so it gets an A tier. Nidorino, unlike its female counterpart, is more of a step down for me, so B tier. Nidoking is awesome. While he may be a short king kaiju, he's still a kaiju. S tier. Clefairy is a cute design, but it's a little bland, it's just lacking some seasoning for me. C tier. Clefable, I like the idea they went with, but it doesn't really do anything for me. D tier. Vulpix. Hot take, I've never liked this Pokemon. I think it's very boring. C tier. Alolan Vulpix is an improvement, but it still lacks something for me. B tier. Ninetales is a gorgeous design, an opinion that some people share, perhaps a little bit too much. A tier. Alolan Ninetales is a flawless design. Nobody dares say a bad word because there's simply not one to be said. S tier. Jigglypuff is just incel Kirby. Tries to put me to sleep like his name is P. Jiggy. Probably has some baby oil around there somewhere. D tier. Wigglytuff is a pink big chungus, and much like that meme, I wish it were dead too. D tier. Zubat might be a menace to society, but it is iconic. B tier. Golbat gets some love because of the full art shiny I found while streaming Brilliant Diamond over on my Twitch, so it gets an A tier. That's literally the only reason. Other than that, it would probably be a lot lower because it's not a great design. Oddish is a little guy, and I like that. B tier. Gloom is not a little guy, and that mouth be kinda sus, so D tier. Vileplume returns to guy status, but he isn't so little anymore. B tier. Paris was a Pokemon I never thought about until Legends Arceus. I would like to apologize to Paris, I was not familiar with your game. Please leave me alone. B tier. Parasect needs a new evolution or like a regional form because the concept is so damn cool. It's just Parasect sucks, again, outside of Legends Arceus. Please leave me alone. B tier. Venonat is like if you took Butterfree and turned him into the shape of a ball. I like it. I want to be his friend. A tier. Venomoth is a demon. No. D tier. Diglett is iconic. Simple but effective. A tier. Alolan Diglett is just so boring. Get in the bin. Dugtrio is pushing it with the laziness, C tier. Alolan Dugtrio, however, those boys have the flowing locks, they're living it up with Raichu on the beach, S tier. Meowth is an absolute lad in the anime, and he gives you money in the games, so S tier. Alolan Meowth feels like it's trying to be sexy. It's like if the Rizzler was a cat. I don't like it. D tier. Galarian Meowth is a proper geezer. Menace to society. Down the pub, watching the footy, getting the badge in along with enough Stellas to make the inevitable post-sesh kebab taste like it's A5 Wagyu. The kind of cat you'd see watching Millwall against Cardiff City in the Championship. S tier. Gigantamax Meowth is haha funny meme, but in the look guys, aren't I so relatable and cool way that Elon Musk tries to be, in that it isn't funny or relatable and honestly makes me wish that the internet was never invented. D tier. Persian, it just has the aura about it. It's the right poor cat to Giovanni, so it needs that presence, and it succeeds. A tier. Alolan Persian is just Stewie Griffin as a Pokemon, and much like Family Guy, it hasn't been funny since 2016. Bin. Psyduck is one of those weird Pokemon that the brand never seems to do anything with, despite being iconic. It's an A tier though. Golduck is fine, but it's definitely a downgrade from Psyduck and is probably the reason it never gets any love. C tier. Mankey is the young boy of the Galarian Meowth crew, ready to throw back pints despite being underage, and then throw hands with the first hooligan it sees. Real scrappy-do energy, but I can respect it. B tier. Primeape is the older brother who isn't in the crew, but he'll back the boys up if you mess with his fam. B tier. Growlithe is a good lad. S tier. Hisuian Growlithe is also a good lad, but it seems like the one that gets forced into those dog shows, and it makes me a little sad whenever I see them. B tier. Arcanine is the only reason I'd ever consider being seen with Ludwig von Cooper over Charmander. S tier. Hisuian Arcanine is just not good. What a disappointment it was. D tier. Poliwag is fine. It's kind of boring, but it's fine. C tier. Poliwhirl, I'm actually a big fan of. I think it's cute, and it also features on one of my favourite Pokemon TCG cards. A tier. Poliwrath is a disappointing Evo, though. I think it's incredibly boring. D tier. Abra is cute, but I hate catching them. B tier. Kadabra is a Pokemon I absolutely love. I usually make it a staple of my teams in the Kanto region, even when I can't trade for Alakazam. S tier. Alakazam is an incredible Pokemon, equipped to give both you and him a balanced breakfast, but because I could never use one, I simply prefer Kadabra. A tier. Mega Alakazam is a wise old sage who happens to have a fetish for spoons. It screams D&D NPC that your party would come across, and that's honestly a good thing. B tier. Machop's proportions just seem off to me, I don't know why. D tier. Machoke's arm vein things weird me out, but I like the belt. C tier. Machamp is an awesome Pokemon if not for the Homer Simpson mouth. Looks like he's gonna be like, March! B tier. I've never done that before. Gigantamax Machamp is built like boxer Deontay Wilder. He's all upper body and 0 legs. He's incredible at punching, but he's never heard of a leg press, even hiding them in those tights he borrowed from Mega Lopunny. C tier. Bellsprout is a dumb-looking plant that the internet has ruined for me. D tier. Weeping Bell is an even dumber-looking plant that the internet tried to ruin for me, but it's too funny to do so completely. B tier. Victory Bell is awesome, and I hope that it gets more love. A tier. Tentacool is boring. D tier. Tentacruel is slightly less boring. C tier. Geodude, despite just being a rock, it's alright. C tier. Alolan Geodude is a really fun change. C tier. Graveler is just bad. A vague amorphous blob. Get in the bin. Alolan Graveler? Yeah, it's still awful. Get in the bin. Golem is that weird final evolution for this line, and one that I constantly forget exists. C tier. Alolan Golem is a lot of fun. I like his magnet rail cannon thing that's going on there. B tier. Ponyta is a classic design, but one I don't think about too often. C tier. Galarian Ponyta is cute, but a little overrated in my opinion. B tier. Rapidash is kinda lame, it should have been a Pegasus. D tier. Galarian Rapidash is better than the original, but it's still a step down from the Ponyta. C tier. Slowpoke is a vibe. B tier. Galarian Slowpoke looks like it enjoys showers of the golden variety, and that's gross. D tier. Slowbro is confusing and disappointing. It doesn't use the Shelder lore, and the tail isn't a Shelder evolution either. I was so disappointed by this as a child, because it's a cool looking Pokemon, so D tier. Mega Slowbro is hilarious. B tier. Galarian Slowbro turned Shelder into a Mega Man arm cannon instead, and he got the purple dip. A tier. Magnemite doesn't make a lot of sense, but I honestly like how it's a bit of a mystery. B tier. Magneton is dumb, and it's very lazy, let's be real here, but logically speaking, it kind of makes sense, so it gets a B tier. Farfetch'd is just pointless, hard to get, not very good, and the definition of filler, get in the bin, or more accurately, get in the pot. Galarian Farfetch'd is better as it has some edge to it, but it's still a little boring, they could have done more. D tier. The duo is fine, but has anyone actually cared about this Pokemon? C tier. Dodria is cooler, but again, does anyone actually care? C tier. Seal might honestly be the worst Generation 1 Pokemon. Honestly, when was the last time anyone has thought of a seal? Get in the bin. Dugong is just a bigger seal, so it's a bigger waste of my time, and is only remembered because of Lorelei and her terrible AI. Get in the bin. Grimer is a gooey boy that destroys the planet around him, and that makes me slightly uncomfortable. C tier. Alolan Grimer is a friendlier gooey boy that helps get rid of the toxic waste. B tier. Muck, like Ekans, spells something backwards, but it's a lot less fun. C tier. Alolan Muck is like the regular Muck, but a lot more gay. A tier. Shelder makes me shudder uncomfortably because I've been on the internet long enough to see some of your desires regarding that tongue. D tier. Cloyster looks... well, maybe I'm starting to understand that Shelder thing. C tier. Ghastly is a very basic design, but it works so well in my opinion. A tier. Haunter is a great evolution for Ghastly, giving it more of a solid form and a menacing appearance. A tier. Gengar is a perfect Pokemon design, genuinely up there with the likes of Pikachu. S tier. Mega Gengar takes the edge a little bit too far for my taste, but it still looks cool, and the shiny is an undisputed banger, and should have been the original shiny. A tier. Gigantamax Gengar is very silly, but I do like that it keeps a bit of the menace that the original has going for it, especially in the Pokedex. A tier. Onix is one of those Pokemon that you think would be really good, but man, it's just awful. C tier. Drowsy is very weird, and I don't know why anyone would ever like it. D tier. Hypno is a nonce. Get in the bin, send that bin to prison alongside the P-Jiggies. Krabby is one of those Pokemon that I weirdly like for no real reason. I can't explain it. It's just a crab, but he's kind of a lad at the same time. I don't know why. C tier. Kingler too, I don't know what it is. It's just a bigger crab, but I like the lad. I don't know why. C tier. Gigantamax Kingler was a very pleasant surprise to me. I wish more forgotten Pokemon got the gimmick treatment like this. C tier. Voltorb is one of the laziest Pokemon designs ever. It's a D tier. Hisuian Voltorb is a very fun twist on that design, used within the Legends Arceus setting, so I can forgive it. B tier. Electrode is equally as lazy as Voltorb is, if not worse. D tier. Hisuian Electrode does not get the pass that Voltorb did. They could have done something way more interesting, but no, it's just an Electrode for no real reason. D tier. Execute is a dumb pile of eggs, and one of them is cracked. Oh well, I think you'll find that there are seeds actually. Didn't ask, don't care, get in the bin. Executor is a dumb tree chode, but it's creative, so C tier. Alolan Executor is absolutely hilarious, especially in Pokemon Go where it just disappears off screen. B tier. Cubone is adorable and sad, and while some think it's a little bit overrated, and I can kind of see where they're coming from, I do disagree. B tier. Marowak is a bit of an uninspired evolution, and doesn't make much sense lore-wise, but the lore is amazing, so C tier, I guess? Alolan Marowak is incredible. The Fire Dancer inspiration along with the ghost typing is inspired. A tier. Hitmonlee is a Pokemon I've never been a fan of. It just looks really goofy to me, I'm sorry, it's a C tier. Hitmonchan is my preferred of the two Hitmons, but I can't really say it's that interesting either. It's kind of just a dude. C tier. Lickitung is weird. I don't like it. D tier. Coughing is honestly a Pokemon I don't think about too often, but when I do, I like it. It's a pretty cool design. C tier. Wheezing, however, is probably why I don't think about coughing as much. It's just something about the growth that's really off-putting and not in an interesting way. C tier. Galarian Wheezing is a distinguished gentleman that cleans up the air around us. B tier. Rhyhorn is a little basic, but I've always liked it enough. B tier. Right on this D tier. Chansey is cool. I really don't have much to say, it's just an egg with an egg in its egg pouch. C tier. Tangela is a cool little noodle monster. B tier. Kangaskhan is a mum/dad who takes their child into battle, and that's just bad parenting. Not cool. C tier. Mega Kangaskhan, however, has trained their kid to be an expert battler alongside them, and that is pretty cool. B tier. Horsey is just a seahorse. C tier. Seadra is honestly the peak part of this evolution line in my opinion. A tier. Goldeen is a waste of time. Get in the bin. Seeking? More like seeking the deep fat fryer in the local chippy. Bin. Staryu is a weird alien looking monster and I like it. B tier. Starmie takes that aesthetic even further and makes it purple, my favourite colour, iconic as Misty's Ace too. A tier. Mr. Mime you'd expect to be getting a Netflix documentary alongside the Hypno and P-Jiggies of the world, and it probably will, but I have like 40 of these in Pokemon Go, each representing a politician or a celebrity that I do not like and is up to some sus stuff, and I tend to scatter them on Pokestops around the world. Whenever I go travelling, I just insert them in the gym. It gets a C tier, but it's still a non. It should be locked up, let's be real, it's a nonce. Galarian Mr. Mime isn't much better. He does also take part in the politician game that I have going on, making up a small section of the 40, so he gets a D tier, but the vibes are stronger here than they are with the regular ones somehow, and I don't like that. Cypher is undeniably cool, just an absolute banger and one of the few bug types people appreciated before like Gen 5. Awesome. S tier. Jinx is a hate crime. Electabuzz looks like Pikachu if he took the Hulk Hogan workout plan of taking your vitamins, saying your prayers, and being the worst possible human being at every available opportunity presented to you. It gets a C tier because it's still a cool design, but, you know, I think it is a bit overrated. Magmar has a ballsack for eyebrows, a duckbill, and Guy Fieri's fashion sense. D tier. Pinsir is an absolutely horrific monster, and honestly, I kind of love it. A tier. Mega Pinsir is even crazier, looking like it could kill someone. S tier. Tauros is a cool design and one that I've always liked. B tier. Paldean Tauros has 3 variants, and they're all painfully disappointing to look at, they're all super irritating to catch during a Paldean playthrough, and they're really just there to be dex filler to make you trade or buy both versions of the game, and for that, they can all get in the bin as far as I'm concerned, they suck. Magikarp reminds me that while I may feel like a failure often in life, it could always be worse, and for that it gets a B tier. Gyarados is an undisputed GOAT of the Pokemon franchise. It's just perfect, and it's always worth the training of Magikarp to get one. S tier. Mega Gyarados is a weird one for me. I'm kind of 50-50 on whether or not I think it's good or too much. The regular one's just so damn good that it really is a fine line when it comes to changing that. C tier. Lapras is one of those Pokemon that I think everyone just loves. It's that friend that you can't say anything bad about because they're just cool like that. A tier. Gigantamax Lapras is when that friend realizes that everyone likes them and it lets it get to their head, however. D tier. Ditto is just great. It's a blob of purple slime with a goofy smile imprinted on it and it can transform into whatever it likes. S tier. Eevee is an iconic Pokemon for a reason. It's a mascot to rival Pikachu for a reason. It's a banger of a Pokemon design. S tier. Gigantamax Eevee is an Eevee that you haven't taken to the Pokemon hairdressers in too long. Gets a D tier from me. This was a waste of a Gigantamax spot. Hey guys, did you know that in terms of male human and female Pokemon breeding, Vaporeon is— Stop it! Go to therapy. Get help. You've ruined this Pokemon. D tier. Jolteon was always my evolution of choice back when I did Kanto playthroughs because I always had water and fire covered by the time I got to it, so B tier. Flareon is fine, but it always seemed a little bit basic to me when compared to the other two OG evolutions. It kinda just feels like you turned up the saturation and hue shifted an Eevee to red. D tier. Porygon was the fall guy for giving all of those kids seizures when it was Pikachu that started the flashing lights. Never forget, they made my man Porygon dirty so they could keep the mouse clean. B tier. Omanyte? I might consider picking up the Helix fossil whenever I see it to get this little lad. B tier. Omastar, aka Lord Helix, might be the single greatest thing to come out of Twitch Plays Pokemon, and it's still mentioned to this day. A tier. Kabuto is the first ever shiny I got in Pokemon Go that didn't have increased odds. I just kinda found it one day while walking to university. I've liked it ever since. B tier. Kabutops has always been cool to me, and I honestly think it deserves more love. A tier. Aerodactyl has always looked kind of goofy to me. I've never really been a fan of it. C tier. Mega Aerodactyl takes that feeling to the extreme with its dumb rock armor. I like the lore, but it's too much. D tier. Snorlax is one of my favourites, and I have worn my Snorlax onesie many times, including while recording this audio. S tier. Gigantamax Snorlax is so forgettable that I didn't even include it in the initial recording for this, so I guess that's an automatic bin. Articuno was the first legendary Pokemon I ever caught, and I've always thought it looked really cool, no pun intended. A tier. Galarian Articuno is absolutely fantastic. The elegant look with the crazy goggles and the purple colouring, it makes me want to go catch one in game whenever I see it. S tier. Zapdos used to be my favourite of the three birds because I really liked yellow as a kid, but these days it's just kind of whatever to me. It looks 2D. Even when it's 3D, it's hard to explain. C tier. Galarian Zapdos is better than the original in my eyes, but it's not my favourite still. B tier. Moltres might be one of the worst legendary designs in Pokemon history, it's just a rubber chicken caught on fire. Get in the bin. Galarian Moltres, however, is looking clean with the Shadow the Hedgehog colour scheme. Absolutely incredible. S tier. Dratini is a little noodle, and I like that. A tier. Dragonair is a majestic Pokemon and one that I've always thought looked incredible. A tier. Dragonite peaked in high school as Dragothan and is now just trying to get his life back together, and I feel that, but C tier. Mewtwo is so damn cool. Shout out to the shiny one I got first try in Pokemon Go. S tier. Mega Mewtwo X looks like a Dragon Ball character, and that's pretty awesome. A tier. Mega Mewtwo Y feels like what Mewtwo was supposed to look like if the cloning went perfectly to me. I love it. Even if I would use X more, it's so cool. S tier. Mew is adorable, and while I'm not the biggest fan of it, the appeal is undeniable. A tier. And that's all she wrote for now. I think we both know that the Pokemon Company can't help themselves, and when Gen 10 finally arrives, we'll all be complaining about the new gimmick that gives us attack and defense forms of Charizard, like a more marketable Deoxys. Overall, Kanto gets an A tier for me. It's a solid region with a bunch of classic designs, but despite the large variety of bangers, there are some painfully boring ones thrown in there too. Again, if you liked this video, remember to hit that like button and subscribe because I will do more of these at some point. It's just a matter of whenever I get time and well, you know how many Pokemon there are. You know, this is gonna take a while. Maybe when I'm finally done with it, whenever that is, I'll make like one big video for people to fall asleep watching, like I normally do. Anyway, thank you all, and I'll see you all soon. Goodbye, everyone.